Pauline is a youth worker with over 25 years of experience and now a senior lecturer in youth and community work. She's doing a lot of research, challenging the neoliberal in everyday life, gender, identity studies, feminist perspectives, methodology within youth work practice, and how to build on reflective practice, European and international youth work and research. She's a member of the National Steering Committee of the In Defense of Youth Work campaign.
Wow. What a bunch of good-looking people we've got in this room. Hello, everybody. Hello. I'm really sorry, but I cannot and will not stand here and talk. It's in my nature. I just can't do it. So you're just going to have to be walking around. Is that okay? Okay. I also need to apologise in advance. I will swear. It's not meant to offend anybody. It's just the best way that I can communicate. Is that okay? Okay. You've heard a little. Can you hear me? You've heard a little bit about me, and I kind of want to figure out who's in the room before I start. So, stand up, please, everybody. Oh, yeah, hello. Sorry. Stand up, everybody, who's involved in youth work or supporting youth work. Okay, there's a lot of people stood up. People waving, sending kisses. Right. Okay, can you remain standing, please, if you would describe yourself as a face-to-face youth worker? If you're not a face-to-face youth worker, please sit down. Yeah, that's what I like to see. I like to see a room full of face-to-face youth workers. That's the majority of the people in the room, huh? Okay, so please remain standing, all of you face-to-face youth workers. All of you that have been working for longer than 5 years as face-to-face. Okay, we've lost some people. 10 years? Oh, you know, because we've got so many good-looking young youth workers. 11 years? 12? 15? 17? 19? 20? 25? Anything over 25, we don't need to mention. Can you give those a round of applause? It's really good to see lovely, vibrant, dedicated, beautiful face-to-face youth workers. It really is. And it's really nice to be here. It was great that Boya invited me, and I said, yeah, if you want me to, I'll talk to people. I noticed I got the graveyard shift, the last session on a Sunday. Thanks. Thanks. But it's also really lovely to see a room full of youth workers. I don't know if you know anything of the state of youth work in England specifically, but I cannot imagine a room full of youth workers at the moment. They're gone. I come from Birmingham. 10 years ago we had just under 200 full-time youth workers. Today, 20. Our neighbouring council, municipality, commune, Wolverhampton, has gone from 150 to none 2 weeks ago. So youth work is dying in England. So it's lovely to come here and see it's actually still alive in Austria. So the other health warning I have is that I talk specifically from that perspective. I understand that youth work is different in your national reality. I do understand that. But I cannot separate myself from the lens of my experience. Is that okay? So if I come over as overly negative or sceptic, please tell me, and I'll probably say, fuck. I won't. Okay. You'll notice I've done a Prezi. Ooh. I'm not very good at it. So there is a picture here that you can't see, but it's of Albert Einstein, and it's one of my favourite all-time quotes. And it says, "Not everything that can be counted counts, and not everything that counts can be counted." And that's really a painful learned lesson from our experience. And I have no German. The only German I can speak, or say, is unglaublich. Unglaublich. So I missed out on what the content of the previous speaker's slides were, but I kind of got the gist of it, that we need to make sure that people understand what we do, who we do it with, and why. Is that it? Is that what he was saying? Maybe? Ish? Okay. And I say, yes, we do need to do that, but we have to be mindful how we do it. I come from a youth work experience where we said, I was a detached youth worker. Can you tell? Used to walk the streets with bags full of condoms, and the young people used to say, "There's sex woman's here!" So we used to say to our politicians, we're really good at working with young people who are hard to reach. We're really good at working with young people who are disaffected. We're really good at working with young people who get pregnant too early, who take drugs, who are involved in gangs, who are killing each other. You name it, we're really good at working with them. And that worked, actually, for a while. We got loads of money. In fact, we had so much money we didn't know what to do with it. But then we were told, with all this money, you have to prove what it is that you do. You have to prove that you're stopping young people under the age of 16 having unprotected sex, because we want to see a drop in birth rate. Really? Really? So just be mindful, is what I'm saying. Is that okay? Just be mindful. Shall I get on with what I'm actually talking about? Yeah, okay. That was just as a reaction of what I've heard in the room today. So, hands up everybody who would say that they think they were a professional youth and community worker. Oh, there's a bit of discussion going on there. We kind of have to define the terms, huh? I am a second career academic, so I have to ask these questions. What do we mean by professionalism? We need to stop skating around with the terms and really define what it is that we mean. Do we mean, I guess, youth workers behaving professionally? Or the professionalisation of youth work? In some European countries, oh, by the way, I've just started my PhD. Oh. And my PhD is an autoethnographic study into the dominant discourse emerging in Europe when we're talking about youth work. Sounds good, huh? Basically, what are the dominant stories that are being told about youth work in Europe? And what I've discovered so far is, certainly in places like England, Estonia, Finland, they have legislation around youth work, they have education and training about youth work. In England, we've got a set of national occupational standards. If you want to be a teacher, you have to get a degree. You have to have national occupational standards. If you want to be a social worker, you have to do a degree. You have to... Same with youth work. It's on the same level. Wow. Or, do we mean, if you're a professional open youth worker, you're not going to let young people down? If you promise you're going to do something, you do it. If you're going to do an interagency meeting, you turn up on time, and you probably don't swear. What do we mean? Wow. The EU, you know this already, I'm sure you do. The EU have 8 action under the youth strategy. And I think I'm right in saying that you could all look at this list. Let's start with the first one. First list, youth and the world. Do you think youth workers have a role to play in the EU strategy of youth in the world? Do you? Silence? Yes or no?
Yes.
Participation? Of course, we wrote it. They didn't know what participation was until we said, this is what we do with young people. Sorry, getting a bit beyond myself there, but that's how I feel about it. Health and well-being? Employment and entrepreneurship? Education and training? Volunteering? Social inclusion? Creativity and culture? Interesting, isn't it? Youth work plays an important role in each of those 8 strategic areas. We're in all of them. We do all of them. We inform all of them. We translate all of them to the young people we work with and the communities in which we exist. Actually, what I found is never has youth work been talked about in so favourable a way as of this moment in Europe. It's amazing. Everybody's talking about youth work. And that should be something to be celebrated, I guess. But it might also be something to be worried about. We are cross-sectorial. Cross-sectorial cooperation. We can work within all of these different sectors. Yay! We have methodology, we have relationship, we have conversation, we have trust, we have respect of the young people that we work with, which means that we can do all of these things. But we do all of these things from a youth work perspective. And as soon as we lose the perspective of being a youth worker and try to be something else, guess what happens? We stop being as effective, in my experience. Yeah. There's this report last year that says there's over 3 million youth workers in the EU. 3 million of the buggers. 3 million. How many of those do you think are full-time, paid? How many have had a specific education, which says, I'm a professional open youth worker? I mean, these are really important questions. I don't know what it is like in Austria, but certainly in the UK when we had youth work, the majority of it was done by volunteers and part-timers. We were then supported by full-time employed youth workers. Is that the same in Austria? Ish? Maybe? No? Okay. This is the academic in me speaking, huh? I suggest, Pauline Grace 2015 grads suggests that professional open youth work at its best can be transformative. And I'm stealing the word transformative from Paulo Freire, the Brazilian educationalist. All familiar with his work? Freire? And to be transformative means that when we're working with people, their understanding of their lived reality, their understanding of what it means to be a young person, their life opportunities change, hopefully for the better, because we've been involved with them. Yeah? So that the best youth workers I've ever had the privilege to work with can do something which transforms the lives of the people that they work with. Do they have a magic wand? Do they have a wallet full of money? Do they have some dirt on the local politicians? I don't know, but they just are able to really make a difference. And actually, the youth work that they do, and the youth work that I've seen occur, is based on this idea of a democratic, pedagogic education. something which suggests that we're in this together, that it's me and you, us. It's not me working on you, it's me working with you, and we'll maybe take a journey together. Does that make sense? Is that recognisable? Okay. Yeah, it's like shared, dialogical, we would call it. In fact, I think previously we talked about dialogical competencies. Yes, you did. I saw it on the PowerPoint. Okay. You know, I am a lecturer on a BA and a master's degree in youth work. And we interview every single person that comes to the university. So it doesn't matter how good your grades are, you're not going to get a place on the degree until after you get an interview. And some people have said, in the interview, the only reason I'm here is because youth work degree is going to be the easiest degree I ever do. The only way I'm going to get a degree is if I do it in youth work. And you know what? They are so wrong. Because youth work is really messy. It's really complex. It's not straightforward. You have to think through all sorts of behaviours, attitudes, relationships, conversations, challenges, and all of that takes time. Really important to understand that it takes time. You know it takes time. The people in England who were giving us lots of money didn't realise it took time. In fact, I'm supporting a youth worker at the moment who is on a payment by results contract. So she has 6 weeks to make contact with a group of 20 young people that she's never met before. She knocks on their door, says, "Hello, I'm your youth worker. I understand that you're NEET, not in employment, education and training. And can I apologise that we infected European discourse with words like NEET? It's an abomination, we should stop using it. It just reduces young people to problems to be solved." Sorry. And this young woman has 6 weeks. 6 weeks to turn around a NEET young person to an EAT in employment, education and training. 6 weeks? I wouldn't tell you my name in 6 weeks. So you have to be really mindful of that. I'm okay for time. I'd like you to think about these 3 questions. I'd really love it if you thought about these 3 questions over the next couple of days. Are you, as a youth worker, identifying as an agent of social change? If you've read any of the work by Walter Lorenz, the German scholar, and okay, he comes from a social kind of critical pedagogy background, Walter Lorenz challenges you and says, are you an agent of social change? Or are you just there to control them? Are you just there to make sure that they don't make too much trouble? Don't make too much noise? Keep them occupied? Yeah? It's a really old question. I mean, you know, I'm not telling you how old I am, but I've been battling with this question since 1989. Yeah? Are you interested in enabling young people, as active members of society, to challenge the status quo? Let me give you a little story. There was a detached youth worker working in the north of England, and they were working with a community of young people who didn't visit a youth project or a youth centre. Their place was outside the entrance of the park. They didn't use the park, they'd use the entrance to the park. But that's okay. Is that okay? It's not in the north of England. In the north of England we have something, well actually in the whole of England, we have something called dispersal orders. Anybody heard of them? A dispersal order is a commandment, and a map is drawn of a specific area. It's put up on lampposts and signboards, and no more than 2 young people at any one time can congregate or gather in a dispersal order. We really love young people. So this group of young people... Hello? Sorry. So this group of young people, I'll give you a story, stick with me. This group of young people were outside of the park in a dispersal area zone. The police came along, split them up, told them to move on. If they didn't move on, they'd be taken to the police station. So the young people split up, and one of the young women who was in the group walked home through the park alone. And she ended up getting assaulted. She was actually quite seriously sexually assaulted and ended up in hospital. And the local youth worker was the first person that her mum rang. And she said, "I'm outraged, this has happened to my daughter." She had the protection of the group of young people that she was with. She was moved on by the police because of the dispersal order. And the very fact that she walked home through the park on her own meant that she was able to be victimised. And I'm not happy about it. So the detached youth worker said, well, let's challenge it. The dispersal order is only there because the police say the community wants... Oh, what am I doing to... Can you hear me? I want the battery out. Hello? I want the battery out. Sorry. So the dispersal is only there because the community wants it. So let's ask the community. So the youth worker organised a meeting with the community, told the story. The community were outraged by the story. The community then said in no uncertain terms to the police, you must stop this dispersal order in this area. They overturned it successfully. A real story of success for me, because the police have the power, don't they? Yes. And that's fine, until it's not. So the question is, how did I do that? Has that been going on all this time? And you didn't tell me, you buggers. So yeah, it's just a story that illustrates that part and parcel of the role is about challenging the status quo. If you're living in an unjust situation, do you just accept that, or do you do something to change it? Yeah. Are professional open youth workers striving to include young people in the process, which engender solidarity and foster ideas of social justice? And I can't really think of a better time to ask yourself this question in the light of the refugee and migrant situation at the moment. What conversations are you having with young people about that? In the light of all the attacks that have been happening, and the wave, the absolute moral panic and wave around Islamophobia. What questions are we asking about our systems, and how are we supporting young people to ask those questions? Hard job. How am I doing for time? Oh no, man. Okay. Just 3 really short stories. This is how complex youth work is, you know these. I spoke to a youth worker in Austria last year, and a brilliant project. And he said, you know, I've been working with this group of young people for over 4 months. I walk out the door, and they've written on graffiti on the wall, in shit. They haven't written the word shit, they've used their own shit and written on the wall. He still has a good relationship with them. If they're going to write shit on anybody's wall, let it be the youth workers. They're voicing their power, aren't they? They're doing something. Another youth worker in the Netherlands. If I'm working with a gang of young people, and those gang of young people are already successful in kind of the criminal world, what I always do is spot the leader and then put him in a position of trust. And it always messes with their heads. because we're trusting. If that's not reverse psychology, I don't know what is. And then a youth worker from Birmingham who says, sometimes I'm the only significant adult in young people's lives, and that's a huge responsibility. I'm going to finish on the ologies. To be a professional open youth worker, you have to have lots of ologies. You have to be an expert in pedagogy, psychology, sociology, philosophy, therapy, theology, ideology, and as far as I'm concerned, most importantly, phonology. If young people don't like you, you ain't going to be able to work with them, you ain't going to be able to call yourself a youth worker. The presentation goes on. I think I've run out of time. Please have a look, it will be on the website. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Fragen, auch auf Deutsch? Möglicherweise ist das wirklich ein Grund, aber vielleicht gibt es auch noch ein Wort, das neben unglaublich auch noch stehen bleiben kann. Würde jemandem spontan etwas einfallen, was wir auf Deutsch mitgeben können? Ein zweites Wort, um den Wortschatz zu bereichern. Another word in German, so that you know one more except unglaublich.
Weitermachen.
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 Continue. Okay, thank you very much.